Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Small Business File. Later in the show, we'll be speaking with Tara Fields about business psychology. But first, let's get to this week's news. This week, Google announced a whole host of changes to many of its core products at the Google I/O conference in San Francisco. If you're a small business that uses Google, here are some highlights. Gmail will be integrated with Google Wallet, so Gmail users can send money by email in the same way you'd send an attachment. This feature will be rolled out gradually in the coming months and has the potential of being a game changer in e-commerce. Google Maps will incorporate standardized review scores, offers, and deals built into the app. This could be very important, especially for local businesses. There will be over 40 changes to Google+, including a more consistent experience between desktop and mobile devices, a new design for the news stream, and a standalone Hangouts app. Google's Android OS has been pulling ahead of iPhone recently, with 2013 seeing more than 900 million Android devices activated, compared to 400 million in 2012. Android is now 38% among mobile operating systems compared with only 26% for Apple's iOS. In other mobile news, worldwide sales of smartphones now outnumber those of regular cell phones. Although U.S. sales of smartphones outpaced regular cell phones in 2011, it's another reminder of the importance of mobile. According to a survey by Constant Contact, 66% of business owners use mobile technology in their business. 34% have a mobile-optimized website. 18% run a mobile tablet-based payment point of sale. 18% use mobile apps to manage operations like accounting. Stay tuned and we'll be covering mobile strategy for local businesses in depth in upcoming programs. Small businesses say they recognize the power of social media in engaging customers, but they lack the expertise to apply the latest digital marketing tools to their business. That's the finding of a recent survey conducted by Staples. In fact, first place on the small business wish list is a large Facebook community of fans. In response, Staples is launching their Push It Forward contest with 3 grand prizes of $50,000 in digital marketing services. Small businesses can enter by submitting a 75-word essay on what would a $50,000 digital marketing push from Staples mean for your small business. The deadline for this contest is May 31st, 2013. For details on entering or voting for our submission, see the links below in our program notes. Well, if you're optimistic about your business, you're not alone. This Tuesday, the Nfib's latest Small Business Optimism Index rose 2.6 points to 92.1, the highest reading since October 2012. Most businesses expect better business conditions over the next 6 months and anticipate creating more jobs and sales. So if you're looking for a small business loan, now might be the time. According to Biz2 Credit's Small Business Lending Index, small business loan approval rates improved to an all-time index high of 16.8% at big banks and 50.9% at small banks. More importantly, approvals at big banks are up over 50% year to year. In other financing news, Kabbage Inc., a provider of small business financing for online companies, now plans to offer financing to brick-and-mortar companies. By analyzing QuickBooks data, Kabbage can instantly approve and extend cash advances to small businesses. This is significant because QuickBooks is used by over 4 million small business customers across retail, service, and manufacturing industries. The average financing from Kabbage is about $18,000 and is structured as a cash advance. Clients pay from 2 to 18%, and Kabbage pulls payments directly out of its customers' accounts. Their approval rate for online businesses is about 55%. Coming up next, Reese Ludlow will speak with Tara Fields about business psychology.
Today we're going to discuss small business psychology, how we sabotage and, more importantly, enhance our paths to success, and to help us better interact with our coworkers and customers. To help us with that is Dr. Tara Fields, licensed marriage and family therapist. She was one of the original therapists on A&E's Intervention and Hoarders, and most recently, the host of Fix My Family. To cut to the chase, so when we're talking about psychology in business, the way I look at it, we're talking about working, first on ourselves, really, what we can do for ourselves, then working on the people that we work with, and then of course, our customers.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, because if you don't have that self-awareness, knowing who and what triggers you, you really can't be present and do the best job and have the best connection with your customers.
Right, so it all starts
with you,
with
absolutely.
there's also the self-doubt thing, like somehow not feeling you're good enough. I remember for years I felt like I wasn't experienced enough to do certain things.
So many people that come across so self-confident actually do have that fear. At some point, I'm going to be found out. They're going to find that I'm really not talented enough or experienced or knowledgeable. If I really get that job, they're going to find out, like, holy Toledo, what were we thinking of? So that is a place to start, to really look at your beliefs about yourself and where do those beliefs come from. The other thing that you can do is what we do if we as therapists are treating depression, anxiety, so many things, and working on self-esteem, which is what we call cognitive behavioral therapy. And in a nutshell, what that is noticing your self-talk, and then changing it, because what you say to yourself will determine how you're feeling. So if you're someone who's always saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail, I'm not good enough, it always turns out poorly, well then the feelings follow and then your behavior follows.
Right.
So start noticing the negative self-talk. Challenge it. Is that really true? Am I really terrible?
Well, I think the important thing for entrepreneurs is that in order to keep growing, we have to take on challenges that
Yes.
we haven't done before.
Yeah. You know, you made me think of something else when you said that, is that we assume people are going to be against us, but really they want us to succeed. So even though you were saying, oh my gosh, you know, I don't really know all of this, they want you to succeed, so they're going to help you. And that's the really wonderful thing about really assuming that people are on your side. Of course, not ignoring the radar that says that person isn't, but people want you to win. They want you to be successful. They also want you to make them happy. They want your product or your service to turn out well.
Especially if they're your client and they're paying you for it.
Right, but you also, there's one other thing that you said that's important, which is I will say to myself, I will say to, you know, patients, I even say to my husband, if during the day or at least the week, you don't feel a little uncomfortable or anxiety when you're about to do something, stretch yourself, then you're not putting yourself in a position where you can grow. So if your goal is, I just want to be really comfortable all the time, odds are, you're not going to get on that path that can take you higher and to achieve those goals that you really have in your heart.
So this brings me to another thing, which I guess is part of like what we're talking to is the self-awareness thing. I mean, how do you know when you're being too soft and too lenient?
Right.
And then there are those people that think that they're treating their employees, you know, like kings, and they're actually the biggest hard asses to work for in
Right.
the world.
Right.
So how do you know where you stand?
Well, to start with, are you being too soft? The first reality check is, are things just running amok? You know, are people disrespecting you? You know, is it more like a playground than a place of business? And they kind of assume you're not going to do much about it. So that's to the extreme.
Right.
But again, if you're a good person, you can say, here's what I want, here are my expectations, and I also always want to know that I'm being assertive when I talk to you as opposed to aggressive. There's 3 places on a spectrum you could be. The one end of this spectrum is when you say too soft, am I giving myself up? Am I being a doormat? The other extreme is being aggressive, where you're just going after what you want, but you don't give that person the sense that there's a human being there and that you are taking their feelings into account as well as yours. That's what being assertive is. You're very clear that you have a right to say what you want, to have the expectations you do, but you always treat the other person like a human being, and you convey that at all times.
Click the link below to see the full-length interview with Tara Fields, where she discusses, among other things, managing personalities in the workplace, motivation, and
First, and probably the biggest thing that comes to mind right away when you think of psychology in business is self-sabotage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you know, how do you know if you're doing it? That's the thing.